Welcome to Inside Independence, a show that looks at interesting events and information that's happening in the Clarkston and Independence Township area. Our show production is produced by Independence Television, and I'm Joette Kunse, your host for the day. And we have a special guest with us today, Linda Zbracha. And Linda is the new Community Garden Coordinator for Independence Township. And we're going to talk about the community garden in the township. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Joette. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I know that we've had a community garden for a number of years, but when COVID started, the garden stopped.
Right.
So kind of bring us up to date with what is happening.
Okay, so basically the meadow has taken over the garden. You cannot tell that there was a community garden there at all. It looks just like a meadow on the top of a hill. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. The deer fence is down. It needs to go back up, a brand new deer fence. The borders need to be put back in the ground to outline the plots. We have a donation garden this year where we'll be raising produce that will go to the Clarkston Lighthouse.
Okay, let's stop it. Let's talk about the location of the garden, which is at the Stickney and Pine Knob, the corner. It's really on Pine Knob, is that correct?
That's correct.
And at Stickney, where Stickney Road comes into Pine Knob Road. And that was the old McCord farm, that's my understanding.
That's correct.
And she, I don't know if she sold it to the township or gave it to the township.
It was donated to the township.
How many acres is it there?
There's just a little over 33. It's mostly glacial moraine, so it is not the kind of property that you'd want to develop for anything. So it will be used for passive recreation and the garden. The garden is just areas just over a couple of acres.
So that's the McCord, is it McCord Park?
McCord Stickney.
Is it McCord Stickney Park? And in that is the community garden.
Yes.
And it went back to nature after 5-6 years of. But what are the plans? What are your plans, and what's been done so far?
So far, we have started to take. Well, let me take a step back. All of the remnants from the old gardens are gone. So people had put up fences and all kinds of stuff, and that's been cleared out so that we could get a mower in there, so we could mow the area where the rental plots will be and where the donation garden will be.
And that's a township. The township is doing this for.
That's correct.
And you know, I learned that there are 29,000 community gardens in the United States, and then Linda, you had a comment about that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a gross underestimate, and I say that because there are so many gardens here just in Clarkston that probably aren't considered community gardens. Some of them are very small, like the one behind the senior center. We have one at the elementary school, another over a daycare that I've seen. So I think there's probably a lot more. I know the Greater Lansing Food Bank has 90 just in East Lansing. So I'm sure that those little plots don't get reported.
So tell us what are the basic pieces to a community garden?
For us this year, the basic pieces are going to be rental plots for residents and non-residents, a donation garden. The asparagus beds and the raspberry beds have remained from the previous community garden, so we'll be cleaning those out as well. However, it depends upon what the intent of the garden is. For us, the intent is to make it a community space. So for example, excuse me, this year we'll be doing things like, we have Boy Scouts coming up. They're little tiny guys, but they're coming up in April.
Cub Scouts, maybe.
Cub Scouts, yes, excuse me. And they'll be coming up to the garden beginning of April. They'll probably be helping us take down deer fence, pick up stones, that kind of thing. Everest Academy's got a teacher with students who's coming out. We're going to pilot with Independence Township's camps this year for field trips out of the park. Hopefully we'll be tied in with Oakland County Parks. They're going to send a naturalist over. We have all kinds of things like that that we're starting up.
So those are like field trips. But the basic community garden has plots.
Yes.
And so tell us the size of the plots And how many do you have?
So the plots are 10 by 10,
Okay.
or they're 10 by 20, and that's the 10 by 20, excuse me, are based on previous feedback from
Past gardeners?
past gardeners about, well, I had to rent 2 plots. So, we've decided to offer some larger ones. So we have, I think 26 10 by 10 and 18 10 by 20. Now the boards that outline the garden haven't been laid yet, so we can change that configuration. So if more people want 10 by 20, we can offer those.
Okay, so if I'm a community person, I live in a condo and I don't have room for a garden, but I love gardening and I love the fresh vegetables and that I would get from my garden, what would I do?
You would contact Independence Township. You can come into the office and register for a plot. You can just do it over the phone. You can register on their site. You go to the Parks and Recreation.
And we have that information
Yep.
up for people at the
Yep.
end?
So they can do it that way. That's how they would register.
Okay, and so how much is a plot?
Excuse me, the 10 by 10s are $40 for residents.
$40 for the year, or
Yes,
for the season,
for
I
the
should
season,
say.
and then $50 for non-residents. Seniors get a 10% discount,
So that means it's 36?
something like that, if you can
Okay.
do your math right. I think you used to be a math teacher, maybe.
No, I just first grade.
A 10 by 20 is $60 for residents and $80 for non. So there's a little bit of a price break there if you get a bigger garden. Someone has to register for those 10 by 20, but if you have a group of people who want to share it, you could do that. You could.
So we'll have either families, it could be
Yep.
a mom and
Kids.
adult kids, or however you want to do it, or sisters, or whatever it is. And one of the things I learned about community gardens, it is a community place, and so you do make, it's a social place in some ways. You all have an interest in gardening, so you may see you may make friends out there. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's so much more that we don't think about with the community gardens. There's opportunity to build the community, to learn from other growers, to be outside. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and there's tons of birds. So if you're a birder, you might want to go up there. There are no developed trails, but you can go out there in the woods and hike out there. I just think that when people, and it's a great opportunity for kids to learn, where does their food come from? Good eating habits. How hard is it to grow something? An appreciation for our farmers. You can learn about soil composition, how to care for your soil, composting. There's just a whole opportunity to learn things up there. And we'll have some little mini classes like that for the gardeners.
So I always know that eggshells and coffee grounds are two areas that create better soil, amendments to the soil, shall we say.
Yeah, leaves. I use leaves a lot at home. I barely have to put my shovel in the ground anymore. I've added that much organic material. So,
and there are leaves up there.
Oh, there's lots of leaves up there from Impact Weekend last year, and we'll be getting more this April when we're back
Or you could bring your own if you.
That's right, you could.
But so when the season for gardening kind of begins in May, is that correct? Or unless you're starting your seeds a little earlier?
Well, for some of us, it might have started in February if we were growing something difficult like Lysianthus. But for most of us that are growing from seed, it's 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost date. The last frost date, you have to be careful when you look at that because it's a range of dates. So in Michigan, we say generally, after Mother's Day is good to start. I will start sooner myself, and I'll start with things that are a little bit more tolerant to cold. My zinnias won't go out. They get cold, they're going to go. Tomatoes don't want to go out early, but you could start some things before Mother's Day.
Like carrots or
carrots, radishes, collards.
Okay,
Cold
so
weather
and you
crops.
could start things like I just lost my tomatoes. So you could start tomatoes in your house if you wanted to, and bring them out and
Yep.
transplant or something like that. Now you talked a little bit about flowers, but I know there are some flowers that are helpful to gardens like Nasterium and marigolds that kind of keep the bugs away. Is that correct?
Yes, lavender is another. It's supposed to be a deer repellent, but like most people, I think that there's not enough lavender in the world to keep the deers away in Michigan.
But you have sort of an idea about deer because that park has it has its deer.
It sure does.
And but you were able to grow before. So what are you going to be doing as a deer deterrent?
We'll have a brand new fence. It's
Okay.
being donated by the Rotary Club. They've been very generous and given us a very large grant, and their parent group has matched half of that grant. So we'll have a beautiful deer fence. I am concerned about the deer running through the fence. I did some experimental repairs last season, and where they had run through it and they just ran through it again, even though I used baling twine. So I think we might run an electric fence around the perimeter of the deer fence with enough distance in there that they won't feel comfortable jumping over it because they won't have enough distance to get over the deer fence.
Yes, I mean that's just something we live with, and gardeners live with in Michigan.
We have some other critters up there too. Certainly there are groundhogs, plenty of bunnies. The turkeys like to do dust baths in gardens, I've found, much to my dismay. So there is an existing chicken fence that's sunk in the ground. So we're going to try to utilize that as much as we can to keep those little guys out.
Okay. I mean, turkeys do good things because they eat a lot of bugs. They eat,
Yes.
They eat acorns. They keep the acorns out of your yard.
Yes.
But, yes, I have a flock of them that are natural. I mean, they live in nature, but they come across my lawn every day. So.
Yeah, well, they like to take dust baths in my gardens. So I
that's
love
not
the
good for seeds or
It's not good for anything in the
plants
garden.
or whatever. Yeah. Now I have let's take it through. I've got my plot, and I've planted my seeds, and I don't know, how long does it take for a seed to come up?
Germinate?
Yeah.
It depends upon what you're trying
Well,
to grow.
I guess
some things like zinnias, they'll come up in a week. Some other ones, you have to wait longer. So,
well, we'll say I need to water it though, depending on Michigan weather, I should say. So what about water? What do we have?
right. We have a well.
Okay.
We have an operational well that was donated by the Rotary a number of years ago. We'll have plenty of hoses. There's faucets up there. There's already running water, so there'll be easy access to water.
Okay, that's great.
Yes.
That's great. And we've got sunlight, and it's basically a meadow. I mean, so it isn't shaded in any way.
No shade. Nope.
What about my personal needs? Bathrooms, things like that, parking?
So we will allow anybody who has accessibility issues to actually drive into the garden. There will be an entrance that's big enough for vehicles.
So mobility, I mean.
So anybody can get in there. One of the things I envision in the future is better mobility. You know, something that's paved, paths going up to the garden, raised beds. We won't have that this year.
This is our start. This is our first
that's
year.
That's right.
Yeah.
I wish you didn't bring up the facilities. They're going to be very rudimentary. We will have a porta potty this year. But again, my vision is to get grant money, hopefully from the DNR, and we can put up a structure.
Well, you need to start somewhere, and we have to remember that we are starting. This is a rebirth of the garden. And,
Perfect.
So I've got my garden. My plants are growing. I must have some responsibilities as a gardener there, and do you want to talk about that?
Sure. For your own garden, you need to make sure that you maintain it, right? That it doesn't become a bed of weeds. You have responsibilities to other gardeners. So we ask people, don't go into anybody else's garden without their permission. If they're there, you can ask them, but just don't go into it. Certainly don't take any produce from anybody. The way I like to look at things is treat other people the way you want to be treated. So if you want to grow corn and the plots are arranged from north to south, you don't want to plant your corn where you're going to block your neighbor's plants.
In other words,
so,
sunlight.
Yes, so you don't want to plant them this way, you would plant them this way. So we just need to be sensitive about that. Same thing if you got something growing on a trellis. Outside of the garden, the rental agreement states that you have to donate 10 hours.
10 hours
Volunteer
during
time.
the season or the
During
month?
the season.
During the season. So that's really 2 or 3 hours a month, something like
It's
that.
not a lot. We have a good-sized donation garden, and people can go in there to plant. They can weed, they can pick, they can deliver. We will have limited mowing that we have to do, turning over the compost. There will be some things like that available, and it's not just available for the gardeners, but people like master gardeners who have to keep their certificate up to date can come in and work in the garden. We need the raspberry bed and the asparagus beds cleaned out. They're just overridden. They need to be cut back, the weeds out. So I can find work for somebody.
Okay, well let's talk about the raspberry and the asparagus. So who's going to get the produce from that this year, or will there be produce?
So the asparagus is growing well. We'll have to, I think it's going to be a little bit of an experiment this year. And I say that because this past year, I believe it was potato beetles, spit it out there, that got into it. So I don't care, but they chew on them and they don't look great. So unfortunately, general public doesn't know why they look like that. They're not going to want to eat them. So we'll have to find out some way we can take care of them organically, because we are going to try to keep the garden organic. No pesticides like Roundup and that type of thing. So this year's going to be a little bit of an experiment with the asparagus. The raspberries, that's a good question because they're so perishable. We have to get them to the lighthouse, then the lighthouse has to get them to whoever's going to eat them. So it might be just gardeners.
Okay. So, let's go back to the donation garden. And so what happens to the produce from the donation garden?
We pick it, then make sure it's clean and that there's nothing rotten in there that somebody accidentally picked. And then we're going to just drive it down the street to the lighthouse. They pre-package things, and now they're going to have produce, and they're tickled to death. So they'll just add it to the packages that they're already delivering.
Now I noticed that in the past, the community garden came to the
Clarkston Farmers Market.
The market, right?
Yes.
Are you going to be doing that at all this year, or do you know?
Not this year.
Okay.
This is the first year, and we're trying to get our feet on the ground and keep it simple. Although
Okay.
I've talked about all these other things that are going on. So we won't do it this year. We'll see how it goes. Do I have enough people renting to take care of that big plot that I had tilled? Are they capable of it? I might
Do we have
all,
new newbies, or
yes, I know
or
we
do
have
we
some.
have
Right.
experienced gardeners?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. Maybe some people have a little extra time that they could donate to the garden to get it going, or to get it to be helpful. My understanding is you're going to be there a lot during
Yes.
the gardening season, shall I say.
So I'm part-time. Once the garden gets up and going, we're going to have our gardener orientation. The first one is, I think, the first Saturday in April, and then a couple weeks after that in May, after Mother's Day, we'll have another gardener orientation.
So that's April 5th. That's coming right up.
Yeah. So we'll have our orientation. People can start looking at their plots, trying to figure out what they want to do. I'll be up there working, also maybe in the office. So I'm going to make sure with weekly communications that people know when I'm going to be in the garden. And I'm going to make sure that I'm there on a weekend day. So if people are working, they can get their volunteer hours in. But I will be up there on my own personal time as well. So if people want to volunteer then, they can reach out to the township and find out when I'm going to be there. Then they can come up and volunteer to their heart's content.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what a volunteer. I just have some extra time. I'm retired. I want to do something for my community. And so, what might some of the tasks be for that?
So some of the same things as a donation garden. If people are challenged with physical activity, they could deliver the produce for us. That might be the
So
thing they could
there's
do.
weeding, and there's still planting in the donation garden that's
Yep.
going to.
And there's some general maintenance around the grounds, like we have to keep the deer fence clear, so there'll be some mowing and that type of thing. The compost piles will need to be turned over. And there are some things that I want to do that we might not have ready by the time the gardeners get in. So this year we're doing something different. We've got paths in between each block of plot. And I want to put an underlayment down and then cover it with wood chips. I'd like to minimize our carbon footprint. It's a small footprint, but nonetheless, and it also is going to keep the frustration from the gardeners about
Mud.
Mud, whatever. But then they have access all around their plot. If they have an exuberant gardener next to them who pushes the boundaries of their plot and their stuff is falling over, it won't fall into their garden. It'll fall into the path there. So it might be we need some help putting some of the wood chips down.
Okay. So that could be organizations. It
Yes.
could be individuals. There's just a wide variety. People who need to get some hours, like our Clarkston Honor Society, or even someone that may have done slightly something that shouldn't have been done, like Oakland County, and have to do volunteer hours. So there's a lot of different ways to do those hours. Working in the garden is a great place to you see something. You actually, it's very tangible.
Yes, it is. I think, one of the things I've noticed working on with Impact Weekend over the years is that people have a sense of, I did something for somebody else. And maybe they've never volunteered before. And we're going to be feeding people in our community. And we look around and we go, there's no poor people here or anybody who has food insecurity, but there are. There are a lot of people. So there's going to be the satisfaction of walking into the lighthouse. Maybe there's somebody picking up their food.
Well, there's always people in need at particular
That's
times.
right.
Some people are in need all the time. Some people have just places where they're in need for a period of time. So, so one of the ways, because there is it does cost to have this community garden, though it has many benefits for the community. But one of the ways to start that you're using to start to build some sustainability is the Gardener's Gala.
Yes.
And you want to talk about that?
Sure. I think it's going to be a fun time. We've got live entertainment.
And the date, let's get the date.
That's May 8th. It's
May
gonna be,
8th coming up.
Yep, at Brady Lodge. We will have tickets for sale. We have sponsorship levels.
And all of that is at the township?
It's going to be at Brady Lodge.
No, but the sponsorships and the tickets will be available at the township.
We're going to be selling them through the Rotary Club.
Oh, Rotary Club.
Yes,
okay.
the Rotary Club. We have about 6 different government officials coming in from Lansing, so we've got some VIPs coming, strolling appetizers. We have a local vendor who's got a photo booth, so people
Some
can
fun,
yeah,
yeah.
we'll have some fun activities.
And I did see that you wear gardener gear.
Yes, yes, it's casual garden attire. It's a chic garden gala, shabby chic,
Okay.
I should say. Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun, I think.
So are those officials from Lansing? Are they gardeners, or do we know?
I don't personally know. I'm going to work on them if they're not.
Okay.
And count on that.
So all of that is on there will be a page on the end of this. It talks about the Gardener's Gala and where to get tickets. The Clarkston Rotary Club, and I will make sure that is on there too, their website. I'm assuming that's how it's going to be done.
Yes.
And they've really been your partners.
Big time. I mean, we would have been able to pull it off. I'm not sure I would have been pleased 100% with the results of it, because although my background is a project manager, it's been in IT. So I'm used to managing projects and people. But this event has a lot of things that I haven't thought about, like how many tables and where to strategically place them. Those guys have tons of experience through their events at figuring all that stuff out. So we have a number of people from the Rotary helping us out, and they have been, I can't tell you how helpful they've been.
That's wonderful. Well, it's
Yes.
wonderful to have an organization. The Rotary's been around since the 40s. I don't know exactly which year, but 1940s. And they've done a great deal for our community over the
yes.
years. And you know, there used to be a Labor Day parade, but the Christmas decorations downtown have been the Rotary, and they do something worldwide because they do polio eradication, and so we're very fortunate to have a very active
Yes.
Rotary club. So
They have given a lot as far as funding too to this community for different organizations.
yes,
It's
that's
been huge.
And I believe, is Jim Tedder still the president?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so anybody, the viewers, give a shout out to the Rotary Club. They also do the shoes for kids, which is a huge thing, and providing a pair of boots and a pair of shoes for any needy child in the Independence Clarkston community. And that's something they've done since the 40s or 50s, early 50s. So that's, you know, almost 60 years. I think, do you want to share anything else about the community garden?
No, I just want everybody to come out, enjoy themselves, relax in the sunshine, have dinner with your family out there. We have a little sand pit for kids. It needs to be revamped. That's another volunteer opportunity. Next year we'll have a children's garden. So I just like people to come out there and just relax.
I think there's probably a lot of Eagle Scout projects out there.
Yes.
That could be one. I mean, the sand pit could be one of them, or
Yes.
whatever. And they should talk to you,
Yes.
Linda Zbracha.
Yes.
And her phone number at Independence Township is on our at the end of our viewing. And well, thank you very much for coming today and sharing with us. And we wish you well, and we'll get back to see how you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Joette.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.